Here's Mega Man 2 on the NES. Now here's the Krion Conquest. Looks similar, right? The company behind this game made several titles that were strikingly similar, if not complete rip-offs, of well-established games. Were these games actually rip-offs, or did they have some originality? And were these games any good? Let's take a look. What's going on? It's Poger coming at you with another video. Alright, you know what I'm going to say. If you want to join our Discord server, just go to discord.poger.net. We got over 800 members. Okay, let's talk about Vic Tokai. The company Vic Tokai was initially formed in 1977 to handle data processing and computer hardware, but in 1984 the company began game development and manufacturing. They initially developed arcade games for Sega, but they would quickly move over to home consoles. The company made games for various consoles including the NES, Master System, Genesis, and more. They also had a wide variety of genres like platformers and shoot-'em-ups. Some of their games were somewhat original, while many were heavily inspired by other games. Some of them seem like shameless rip-offs. Let's take a look at a bunch of them. Their first game was Aigina's Prophecy on the Famicom. It's a horizontally scrolling platformer where you must find a key and then find the exit. The only way to find the key is by destroying the enemies. Your only way of attacking is by hitting the blocks from below that reveal an item. The item will let you fire off projectiles if you jump near it. Your best strategy is to summon many of these items from the start so that you have them if you need them. The game is challenging because of the fact that you have no direct way of attacking the enemies. The bottom row is the most dangerous spot because you can't summon any projectiles. Overall, this is a cool arcade-style platformer. Golgo 13 is a unique title. You play as a hitman who's supposed to destroy the leader of a group. The gameplay is divided into multiple parts. There's a platformer section, a rail shooter, and a shoot-'em-up. You start off with no weapon, but every time you kill an enemy, you earn ammo. The platformer stages have terrible controls. For some reason, you can jump 20 feet in the air. You have no way of attacking enemies when they're ducking because you can't crouch and shoot. Even your kick doesn't seem to hurt them unless they're standing up. If you run out of ammunition during the rail shooter or shoot-'em-up stage, there's nothing you can do. You have to wait for the enemies to kill you on purpose so that you can start again. The developers should have given you an option to restart the mission or given you another way to attack. At least in the platforming section, you can still kick if you run out of ammo. The game has way too much dialogue to the point where it's boring. There's no way to skip these scenes, so you just have to keep mashing the A and B buttons. This might be just a me problem though, because you might prefer having a more story-based game. Overall, this game is unique, but the bad controls make it a bad experience. Let's try Kid Kool. It's a basic platformer where you have to walk to the right. You can attack enemies by jumping on them, but you can also obtain a projectile weapon. You die in one hit, but if you're holding the projectile weapon, you can take an extra hit. Be careful though, because you can only take that extra hit while you're holding the weapon. You get 3 lives, but there's unlimited continues, so you can try as many times as you want. The game looks like Super Mario Bros., but it plays nothing like it. The controls are terrible. Your character has poor acceleration when he's in the air, which makes even the most basic platforming near impossible. You're required to move fast at certain points, but you'll never know what's ahead until it's too late. It feels like a guessing game. I hate that you have to stomp on the enemies twice to make them disappear. The level design is awful. It's impossible to tell what's below you, so you have no choice but to take a wild guess. The vertical scrolling is extremely annoying, especially if you trigger it on accident. Why not just implement multi-directional scrolling? If it played more like Super Mario Bros., it would have been an okay game, but the controls ruin it for me. The game was also released on the Master System called Psycho Fox. This is the same game, but with some improvements. The screen actually moves in all directions, which makes it much easier to platform. Your character actually has an attack, unlike the previous game. This allows you to destroy enemies in one hit instead of having to jump on them twice. The controls are still bad, but improved. Your acceleration when jumping is a little better than before, so you're less likely to miss platforms. The level design is slightly better. I didn't have to take near as many leaps of faith as I did in the previous game. Overall, I would consider this game to be playable, which is more than I can say about Kid Kool. Decap Attack is the last game in the series. There's a ton of improvements in this one. The controls are much better than before. You can easily accelerate while in the air, and it actually feels like a Mario game. You can also glide, which makes it easier to see where you're landing. You have a life bar, which allows you to take up to 4 hits before you die. You can even collect upgrades that let you take even more hits. The level design has been improved even more, where you're not always just walking to the right, but sometimes you have to travel up to the top or all the way to the bottom. Overall, between these 3 games, this is the only one that feels like a real game. Kid Kool was terrible. Psycho Fox was a tiny improvement, but still bad, but Decap Attack is where they got things right. Continuing on the Genesis, here's Troubleshooter. It's a shoot 'em up with some unique ideas. You play as 2 characters, one of which can shoot either forward or backwards. You have a special weapon that does significant damage against the enemies, but it has a charge each time you use it. I like that charging only requires you to wait instead of having to collect items. You also have a life bar, so the game is more lenient than other shoot 'em ups. You can even touch the walls, which is unheard of in this genre. There's a lot of variety throughout the stages. In the first stage, you move horizontally, but the second stage scrolls vertically. At the beginning, you can choose what special weapon you want, and each one has their own advantages and disadvantages. Overall, I enjoyed this game more than I thought I would. They took the normal shoot 'em up formula and made it their own. In the Japanese version, the developers put in the secret animation after the Sega logo. It's the main character stomping on a Super Famicom. The developers of the game later stated they were unhappy with the budget they were getting to develop Super Nintendo games, which is why they created this hidden animation. There was a sequel, but only in Japan. It's basically the same game, but with all new levels. They didn't make any major gameplay related changes, which I think was the right thing to do. Don't fix what isn't broken. They did make a few upgrades. There's more special weapons than in the previous game, and there's 9 stages now instead of 5, so you're getting a bigger game. In the first stage, you actually start by yourself, and you're unable to shoot behind you. When you defeat the boss, then your partner will drive in and deliver the final hit. Once again, there's a lot of variety throughout the stages, with one even scrolling in multiple directions. I do have to compliment the music, which is excellent. I think the developers made the right call by giving us a similar game. Because of the extra levels, I do consider this one slightly better than the original, but they're both excellent games. While we're on the topic of shoot 'em ups, let's check out Whip Rush. This is more of what you would expect from a shmup, because you don't have a life bar and you cannot touch the walls. You can collect various weapon upgrades, including the P icon, which gives you an extra player that follows you. These are important because they give you more firepower. If you collect the same letter again, you'll get an upgraded version of that same weapon. Like with Troubleshooter, the screen moves both horizontally and vertically, but unlike that game, you don't have a reliable way to shoot behind you unless you have the right weapon, but that's completely situational. Because you can't touch the walls or even get hit more than 1 or 2 times, Whip Rush is definitely way harder. Even in the first stage, the mini-boss forces you to play in such a narrow passageway. Unlike Troubleshooter, which had a lot of unique ideas, this game feels more like a generic shooter. It's decent, but I don't enjoy it as much as the games we just talked about. Let's check out the Krion Conquest. It's a platformer that's heavily inspired by Mega Man. We'll go through some obvious examples. Your character design, the vertical scrolling between stages, the many special weapons you have, the Mega Buster, the broom ability which resembles Rush, and more. But there are some differences. Your character can actually shoot above, unlike Mega Man. Your special weapons are all available at the beginning of the game without having to earn them. You also have unlimited ammo, which means you can use your weapons whenever you want. You can't select what stage you want to play, so it's more like a standard platformer where you have to play them all in order. I do find this game to be a bit harder than Mega Man. Your life bar doesn't get refilled in between stages, although it does in between worlds. There are health upgrades, but they're extremely rare. You have 3 lives and no continues. There's not even a password, so if you lose all your lives, you always start at the beginning of the game. This is very unlike the Mega Man games where you can always continue and there's a password. These flying enemies are annoying because they drain your health and it's hard to shoot them down. In this section, I haven't found a way to get past the fire pit without taking damage. In general, getting hit on purpose seems to be the normal strategy throughout the game. This is definitely a ripoff of Mega Man, but it's still a decent game. Vic Tokai did try making their own mascot character. Here's Socket. It's a platformer that's heavily inspired by Sonic. You have an energy meter below, and you have to complete the stage without running out of it. The energy constantly depletes, but you can collect icons that will restore some of it. Each time you take damage, you lose a bit of energy. Because your energy is constantly decreasing, this basically means you're on a timer. Surprisingly, this game has a lot of strengths. Your character can only destroy enemies with a puny kick, but their hitbox is actually quite large. I'm usually able to hit my target without any problems. The graphics are phenomenal, and there's a lot of variation between the stages. The music is some of the best I've heard on the Genesis, I'm not even kidding. The game attempts a Sonic-style platformer with many inclines and fast speed, but I don't think the developers succeeded. The physics don't quite feel as natural as it does in Sonic games. Socket isn't quite as fast, and he usually gets trapped more than Sonic would. Socket has a hard time traveling up hills, and sometimes you get stuck in between two of them. You also have no spin dash type move to increase your speed. The bosses are extremely easy. At the end of each world, you fight the same villain that's supposed to be like Dr. Robotnik. He offers almost no opposition, and you can keep hitting him before he has a chance to even do anything. Overall, I actually do think this is a decent game, it just needs a minor adjustment in the controls. Vic Tokai did have some games that were identical and sometimes blatant ripoff of well-known titles. Some of their games were also terrible, but not all of their games were ripoffs, nor were all of them bad. There were some games like Troubleshooter which had a lot of originality and cool ideas. Some games like Socket might borrow from another game, but are all different enough to be considered original. If you made it this far, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right down there, and let me know in the comments what some of your favorite Vic Tokai games are. I'm usually good at replying back. Thanks for watching.